Hello and welcome to Macro Mondays, brought to you by David Gockstein. I'm your host, Landy, and today is August 24th, 2026. Please forgive the microphone today. A little bit of a different setup. I am not in my usual place where I can record in my studio. So you'll just have to forgive the sound quality here. I hope it can actually not cut out in the middle of me speaking, and I do apologize about the quality. We're actually here for the charts, so let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin to start with here on the weekly, more importantly. I mentioned Friday during the live stream with Cade, where, of course, Cade of Wolf Bitcoin fame joined the show on Friday for a live stream. I also had Ash and Bits jump in. And I talked a little bit about what I'm going to talk about here now that we have the close on the weekly for Bitcoin. We do have um, a lower high into a higher low and a trend break right back to the upside, the upper first standard deviation being the area that it closed above. We did see the high come in at about 79 and a half, with the close coming in just shy of $78,000. So again, 78 to 80 was one of the areas that I was looking at above that $76,000 area. Now that Bitcoin has kind of come up and nearly touched $80,000, if we do see Bitcoin head towards the next area of interest, it's going to be the next high. And this is really a zone. The monthly is at 82 and a half. So let's go ahead and take a look at the monthly real quick here. Um, the 82 and a half is the area that we've talked about prior. This is the monthly higher low close. And then we'll even mark the swing, that 74.4 area. And this is going to be relevant on the weekly because we can see, of course, that is a weekly area of interest as well as the monthly, the previous monthly higher low structure from both a close and a swing. And we did see this swung already before. We had, of course, the big dump off hit 60K. We were looking for 58 to 60, although we did hit 58 and even swept it there at 57,750. Before that, we had a rejection off of the actual lows, which was weekly and monthly lows. That was the last higher low of the bull market. And of course, we swept it, came back down into higher low structure, and then higher high right into test the monthly close open directly at 82 and a half with this swing above at 82.8. This is the next area of interest if we do start seeing even dailies close above $80,000. I would be looking right here. It's a very important area, and I would give it room up to the upper second standard deviation. And anywhere above there, I'd be looking for the next area of interest on the weeklies, which is going to be somewhere around, anywhere between 86 and $87,000. The upper second is currently at right around $85,000. If Bitcoin does continue to head towards 80 and especially 82 and a half at the monthly and go for this high, you will see the upper second start to trend towards or stretch out towards $85,000. And I would give it room to the low side structure. 87 to $88,000 is fair game. So that's the next big area to pay attention to the upside. So 78 to 80 is where Bitcoin is kind of trading in right now, currently sitting at 79.2. But realistically, we're looking for anywhere above 80 to hit that monthly area of interest again at 82 and a half. Go for the weekly lower high, well, weekly higher high in this case. We moved from higher high, but more macro lower high because it's a monthly lower high close. I've made a big deal about this in the past after it came in and we put in the new lows, right? We hit 58 directly. So we're looking for 58 to 60. We got 60 and then 58 and then a nice little sweep of 58. But this is a monthly lower high. So this is a very, very, very important area, being a monthly lower high right up against a close open higher low. So if we do start to see that area crack, I would expect, mid to even upper 80s, even 90K in play for Bitcoin on the dailies and weeklies ahead if we did see the criteria met. Now, why do I bring in even 90K? Because if you look at the upper third standard deviation, it's starting to come in towards the top side of some of these weekly closes for this bear flag before it broke down into the next leg down. And you can see upper third is now starting to get, above the close open here at 90,500 and even headed towards, that 93 and a half, right? So fair game. If we do start to see this area crack overhead at 82 and a half to 82.8, right? But first area that I would look is where we have closes, 85 to 87 initially. You can even push that up to almost 88, 89 by the highs over here. And we can even mark that area out as an area of interest. Yes, it does intersect some of the weekly closes, but it is an area of interest that was holding up as support. And you could really call it, technically like 85 to 90 almost, right? It's almost 90. Um, this is a really important area. If you wanted to get that even higher, you take this area over here, right? And this might be the safer play for resistance. You got 89.2, a retest of that in lower high fashion when we were in the bull market at 88,798, so like a $202 discount as a front run of a higher low swing test. But then we saw support on closes here. And that's going to be the next big area if we see the 82 and a half, 82.8 region start to crack. We can start looking 85 to 86 and then up to 89.90 by this swing low. And that would be the bottom side of this consolidation before a dump off, or that bear flag before a dump off. And we can mark this out. That's going to be a relevant area. And anywhere above there, I would start to look towards the close open and even the highs up here. You're talking 93 to 95 almost. That would be the next area where the upper third is going to come in. And that's going to be, getting very close to, you know, some very, very key levels that are going to start to change things. And in fact, if we get a trend break on the monthly, that changes things. But this is going to be kind of the next big area for the weekly overhead there. You can call it 93 and a half. It's 93.6 here, but 93 and a half to around $98,000. That's kind of a zone of interest. And remember, these are weeklies in conjunction with monthly areas of interest, right? If Bitcoin did start to trade back below the weekly upper first, and I would give this room to move down, it's at 77.2. You're likely, if Bitcoin retraces any of this weekly candle, this Monday pump up towards 80 at all, I would start to look at this as upper first starting to come down towards, 77, 76 and a half. That happens to line up with some existing areas of interest, 74 to 76 that we've talked about in the past. And then realistically, anywhere below there, I'd be looking, 74 to 76 as an area to pay attention to. And then below there, 70 to 72. We've talked about that, as I will bring that chart up in just a moment, but we have the weekly basis band starting to curl up in and around that area as well. Now, granted, it is just shy of $70,000, so swings below are fine, closes are not, but it's essentially right at $70,000. And I'm going to get rid of some of what I've just drawn on the chart here, and we're going to take a look at some of these areas. Forgive me, this is not my normal setup at all. But let's go ahead and turn that on. We'll get rid of some of this stuff just so I can kind of show you what I'm talking about here. All right, so we've already had these levels on the chart. And in this case, you can see that if we start to head down towards and lose 78, it's all about this area, 74 to 76. Anywhere below there, see the basis band coming in right on the bottom side of this 70 to 70,500. We talked about this for daily breakouts. And that's up to 72 to 72.2 on the top side here. So very important areas if it does start to retrace any of this without continuation up. If we did start to continue it up to this green line, which is the monthly at 82 and a half that was swung at 82.8, then we can start considering the upper second bottom side of this range coming in around some wicks here, and that 80, 84, 85 region to right around 86 to 89, even 90 is fair game on swings there. Anywhere above there, that's when we can really start to entertain the low 90s by the upper third at 92. which it would stretch out to if we did see the dailies and weeklies start to head up this way. And then that would start to look like 93.5 to really some that would start to look 93.5 all the way up to 98 essentially is that weekly. But there is some areas of interest over here around 95, 96. But we're gonna do a little bit of modification of this if Bitcoin does start to head up, because there's going to be some lower term time frame areas of interest as well that are high volume nodes in and around that area. But as it stands right now, I think that's pretty good for a lay of the land kind of a day. And again, look at this hourly, just the hourly, the beautiful, beautiful structured way that Bitcoin moved up. This is really annoying. Can I get rid of this? I know I can. I just don't remember how. Hide. There we go. All right, so let's get rid of the Bollinger Bands for a moment here. This is all the way down in hourly, and this is just to illustrate a point. Why do I mark monthly, weekly, and daily levels the way I do? Well, because we held 62.5, came up just shy of it there. We were hunting over here on the short side. We were hunting on the long side, got a direct strike at 62.5. A little bit of a higher low front run of that area and some higher term time frames. Yes, this was a trend break to the downside, was slingshotting right back to 65 here. Nice little move down before the blast off. And look at this. Yes, granted, I was looking 68 to 70. Remember, you might recall that I've been talking about 68 to 70. Yes, there's 68.3 to 69.3 or so right here, but 68 to 70 is really the play. If we were to break out above, 67 and 67.3 over here, we talked about this. We saw that it spiked above 69 towards the 69.7 area, came back down, found some support right around 68K, right on the low here, upper 67.8 on the hourly, came right back to the top side, sat on 69.3, and then went right for 70 to 72, took a little pause at 72.2 there. And then started to march up to the next big area, 74 to 76. Initial spike in, come back, come up, break the top side, and then break into the 78 to 80 area, right? 78 to 80 as a zone, came back down, messed around, tagged 76 again, even dipped in a little bit under, and now came right back up, grab onto 78, and is now sitting above it for the hourly. Beautiful price action. And when marrying that together with the daily compression that we saw, we've got some really good price action that has played the levels in the lower term timeframes really perfectly. And in this particular zone, especially 68 to 69, close open, move up through 70 to 72 for the daily, and then move up right to 78, come back down to 76, dip into it, and then come right back up for 78 to 80 again. Nice higher low. I would be cautious below 75, 600, but just know that if the daily is trending above the upper first, it will continue getting expansion. So as long as it's closing above this 74 area, 74.5 in this case, almost towards 75, that midline break, then it's continuation of expansion and upside is far more likely, right? And as this ticks up, the criteria will get higher towards this last higher low now on the daily. Upper second is right at 80,000, 80,700, almost 80,800 now on the top side here. Upper third is all the way up into the upper 80s, headed towards 89 to 90. So even residual expansion is fine. We got the initial expansion, pull back, trend above the upper first. That's good. That keeps the door open for topside tests and further up. The move will get pretty extended if it does head substantially further up. But closes on the dailies and weeklies above 82.5 are really going to look like we're going to go for the liquidity gap. Now, anywhere below 74, I accidentally moved one of my boxes here. Looks 70 to 72. You really don't want to see it dipping back towards the basis band, at least nuking back towards it while it's still in and around the 68 to 69K. You want to see this more towards the 70 to 72. And you want to see it hold, more importantly, if it does head that way. That's pretty much all I got for you right now. Let's go ahead and actually fix whatever I messed up here. And I would get into oil and traditional markets and all that, but I think my thoughts on Bitcoin will suffice for right now, especially with the poor audio quality that I have for the microphone. Please like and share this out there if you did find this information helpful and my thoughts on Bitcoin's price action helpful. And yeah, enjoy the upside. And you know, I wouldn't be getting too bullish right now. What you want to see as we enter the last 7 days of the month, essentially, right? What you really want to see is Bitcoin holding above some key areas. And I'm going to lay that criteria out for you right now. So a little bit of overtime here. So it's a little bit of overtime. All right. You want to see a close, of course, coming in above $67,000 here. That would close this as a lower low. You want to see bulls. You want to see closes above 76,318 by the end of the month. And I'm gonna harp on this for the rest of this week, into next week, into the monthly close. And more importantly, what you want to see is a trend break. If you see a trend break, that would be a character change. That's not guarantee. It's not a guarantee that this 57,750 rather is the macro low. That's not a guarantee, but what it does point to is a character change, and then it's all about the next move down. It really doesn't matter how high this move goes. If it does trend break above 82.8, that's where you get some pretty interesting scenarios that could play out. Like you can play into the low 90s, and then it's all about this next move down, no matter how high it goes, whether it's a lower high as it relates to the swing high. If it closes above 76, that's great. I will say that it's not as great as if we see a close in August above 82.8, but it would be great. But then it's really not about the move up. It's about the move down for structure, right? So if you get a higher low or equal low structure as it relates to 57,750, then the criteria is close above wherever this high comes in, whether it's here or higher. And then we've got a macro structure change. And yes, you can see things retrace all the way back down or even swing. But then the criteria is wherever the higher high comes in, which is dangerous. But that would suffice as a character change. You get the trend break, get higher low, or higher low in this case, or equal low structure. Great, or sweep is fine as long as it doesn't close below 57,750. And then the criteria for confirming the macro low would be above the higher high. Okay, so again, trend break and then higher low equal low. Once you break back above and you set that trend reversal setup in a higher low or equal low, then it's that's confirmed with the break above. And you know what? The higher low equal low will have plenty of time. Whenever this does trend break above 82.8, we'll have plenty of time to evaluate if we're going to see on a move down a higher low or equal low, or the danger, of course, there is, and we will evaluate it if it begins to show itself, would be lower lows. So a trend break into a lower low structure, not abnormal, but not the norm. But something to pay attention to that I'm sure we'll be talking more and more about as we end, August. If we do get a trend break, especially if we don't get a trend break, then wherever this high comes in, that becomes the lower high to beat, right? And you could see a higher low to trend breaking structure like that, or you see just a continuation of the downtrend. So that's going to be my thoughts for today. Sorry about the overtime. I just remembered that I wanted to kind of describe that in a recorded video. I'll talk more about it on Wednesday. I'm going to be a broken record with this stuff, but I want to make sure that I'm keeping you informed of my thoughts on what's going on with price action here. So you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe. And of course, as always, stay safe. With all that being said, Landy out. Take care.